I'm the Red Lady, and welcome to episode 14 of Shamanic Witchcraft 101. Today I want to address an issue that is very real in the magical community, both online and offline, and that is some of the power struggles and infighting within various magical groups, and how that might affect people who are new to the path, particularly the more sensitive person, or empath as they're sometimes known. If you're new to witchcraft, magic or shamanism, or have recently had a spiritual awakening, then one of the first things you might try and do is find others who are like you, people with whom you can have interest in discussions and possibly swap interest in stories and handy tips and so on. And some of you may want to perhaps join a local group, coven, a magical order, or some type of spiritual or magical circle. And if that's not available to you in your area, or even if it is, you will usually be looking to join an online group, or maybe even several online groups that centre on your particular interests. So making new friends, especially ones that have had similar experiences to yourself, is always a good thing. And I have made lots of online friends in this way myself, but there is also a downside to this, that many who are new to magic in particular are not always aware of, or at least should be more aware of or wary of. And that is how sensitive you are or might be to the type of discussions, debates or arguments, and in some cases magical combat. Yep, that can take place in a magically oriented group. And right now I think I'm just talking about online groups for the moment. Empaths in particular are going to be impacted a great deal by whatever goes on in these groups, especially if you just had a spiritual awakening, or maybe you're even right in the middle of it. You are always influenced in one way or another by the people that you spend the most time with, and that includes who you spend online time with in social groups. So people in these groups, whether they're witchcraft, shamanism, ceremonial magicians, or anything else, they can and will argue just as much as with any other type of group. But there is one major difference, a very important difference that you need to be aware of from the very beginning, and that is magic itself. Some people enjoy the banter, some people deliberately look for arguments, trolling. That still exists in these groups. Just because some of these people seem to be highly spiritual or magically minded, or have a lot of knowledge in a particular area, it doesn't make them saintly, not in any shape or form. If a group doesn't have any clear leadership, then some people may try and take advantage of that. And what you usually find is that there are several people, or at least two, who will be constantly competing for attention. They want to be seen as the leader, someone who has all the answers and gets, the most comments on their posts. And they don't just have to be involved in every single conversation. They have a desire to take control of every conversation. It's like being a kid at school. They want to be the most popular, and this is where most of the infighting will stem from, because if they are challenged or called out on something they've said, that usually escalates then into either minor or major conflict and tantrum throwing. And sometimes others will join in, like I said, it's just like a school playground. But the major difference being is that some of these people are going to have the ability to wield offensive magic. So arguments and infighting in witchcraft or other types of magical groups is absolutely different to people infighting in, say, an arts and crafts group or a literature discussion group or a local community group or any other kind of group. People who infight when that argument becomes serious enough for someone to go on the offensive and send out some type of magical attack, which of course, they're not going to announce publicly, or maybe they will if they're stupid enough. That depends on the person. But 9 times out of 10, if someone says they're sending out some kind of attack, the chances are they're just blowing off steam. Now, for those of you who might be thinking, this doesn't happen, or at least it's totally rare occurrence and it's not going to happen to you, it's not going to happen to me, or, that's not going to affect me in any way, then that is where you would be wrong. If you're an empath hanging out in a magical group, whatever is going on in that group is going to affect you. Even if you're not directly involved, even if you are, simply reading an argumentative thread, because there may also be some type of magical intention behind those words. And that certainly has the potential to rub off on an empath. So, needless to say, on the other hand, if you are the kind of person who likes to banter and debate all sorts of different spiritual and magical issues, and lots of people do it, that's the whole point of groups, right? You're going to come across someone who disagrees with you at some point, and there's nothing wrong with that. Most people can have perfectly decent conversations whilst putting their points across. It's just the odd few who take offence, usually because they're the kind of person that has to be right all the time or have an inability to see someone else's point of view. These are the people who tend to cause the most problems. It kind of goes without saying, you need to be equipped with plenty of psychic and magical protection, especially if you think that you can walk into one of these groups and have an argument with someone over nothing, because you just do not know who you might be dealing with. And in my experience, the more loud and outspoken and argumentative someone is, they're just, ego-driven or blowing off hot air, But in my experience, it's definitely the quiet ones that you need to look out for. The quiet ones are usually far more tolerant and slower to anger. But if you do happen to upset one of those types, then you could run into problems because you have no idea who you are dealing with. And, with the loudmouths of the groups, they give away so much of themselves that you can usually somewhat gauge their competence level, but you can't do that with those who are more tight-lipped. You have no idea how powerful some of these people might or might not be, or what kind of deities or spirits they work with, or what type of entities protect them, if any. So when it comes to empathic awareness, and some of you more sensitive types simply reading an argumentative thread, depending on the content, that's going to have some type of impact on you. Some people love reading argumentative threads. They find it highly amusing and entertaining. But if you are an acute empath, then you need to be considering how much of that energetic venom you're absorbing, because it will affect you, and it will be all the more impactful because these are magical people that you are dealing with, and whether you are an empath or not, every single post or thread you read will leave some kind of energetic imprint on you. If you're reading a thread with a particularly venomous theme, maybe even threats being thrown about, especially with magical people involved, it does have a tendency to rub off. And so what I'm hoping to achieve with this video today is awareness. It's just awareness. For those of you who are new to the magical path, and particularly for those of you who are acutely empathic, it is food for thought. And for some of you who are not that new to the path, maybe just a little reminder of what can sometimes happen in these groups. So, if you want to meet you want to meet new people who are on the magical path and engage in, fascinating discussions. And, some of these groups are absolutely amazing and so great for personal growth. And, sharing tips and experiences, ensuring that you are well equipped with psychic protection, magical protection, spiritual protection, and straight off the bat is advisable, even if you are not an argumentative type, because reading those conversations will affect you if you don't have adequate psychic protection. So be mindful of how much of yourself and your path you're giving away. Really think about what you should and shouldn't be sharing, because people can and will be cruel if they are so inclined. And if you're kind of new to all this, having a negative experience within a magical group setting can be really off-putting in the beginning, and it could negatively impact your spiritual and magical growth. So if you've been following this series from the beginning, then I thank you humbly for taking the time to do so. And if you've not seen any of my other videos, then feel free to subscribe and follow. I will add some links in the description box below, especially to my videos on magical and psychic protection, as it certainly fits in with the theme of this video. I am the Red Lady, and I hope to see you very soon.